I'm grateful for your participation. This is a very important effort that we're all trying to accomplish here in our city. And to give you a little background, the President asked me to lead the effort on developing some ideas in our community with respect to my brother's keeper communities in our city. About 200 cities and counties will be involved in this challenge, and our objective is to improve the lives of young folks, particularly African American males, to help them reach their full potential and the circumstances, regardless of the circumstances in which they were born, and to help create a pathway to success in their lives. And as we create pathways to success in their lives, we're creating a pathway to success for the entire city. I view this as one of the most important initiatives we could be engaged in. I think it's essential. We had a big meeting. When was that? December? In December, we had a cast of thousands at the Martin Luther King Arts Complex. Everybody was charged up, ready to go. So what we have to do is to deliver. We have to provide some shoulder and some elbow grease and to make sure that our activities and our plan is executed in the city of Columbus. We have a 2015 action plan that will be talked about later, involving many of you at various high schools around the city and community forums in our community. So we're not without things already happening in the city of Columbus. They're happening now. And one of the things we need to do is align those efforts and approaches, and so they all have a maximum impact to the maximum number of people. So what I'd like to do before we get started is to identify some of those areas: the APPS program, the Capital Kids program. APPS is run ably by Corey Lethbridge over here, and we're very grateful for him. The work at the African American Males Initiative that myself and Kevin Boyce started, that is run by the Columbus Urban League, several other efforts from Restoration Academy to many other things that we're working on, all working to build this community to have a big impact on that group of folks. But having said that, there's still so much more to go. And we have a lot of work to do. And Council members Shannon G. Hardin and Priscilla Tyson are here to engage to make sure this happens in our community. But before we get started, if we could just go around, I have Councilmember Hardin come up in a minute because he's the co-chair of this effort with me. The President asked both of us to lead this effort, and I'll have him come up shortly. But I'd like to go around the room and everybody introduce themselves and just 30 seconds on who they are and their background. Yes.
Rocky Parker. I'm the Vice President of Talent Acquisition and Nationwide Insurance. Talent acquisition is the hiring effort that we have at Nationwide.
Good, good, good.
I'm Richard Bash. I'm a Deputy Chief with the Division of Police here in Columbus, and I'm in charge of the investigative subdivision, which has basically every detective that wears a suit, and that also includes our brand new, thank you very much, crime lab.
Yes. $13 million later.
Yes, sir, and thank you again. Appreciate that very much.
LaShawn Carter. I'm the Project Director for School Achievement for Learn for Life Columbus. We're a collective impact agency, so we partner with many of the nonprofit and supplemental service organizations in Central Ohio around researching best practices and implementing them for the benefit of our families and our young people.
I'm James Moore from Ohio State University. I'm the director of the Todd Anthony Bell National Resource Center on the African American Male, and I'm a distinguished professor of urban education in the College of Education at Ohio State University. A lot of my work reflects on African American males throughout the lifespan, pre-K all the way to 20.
Keisha Hunley Jenkins, External Affairs in the Mayor's Office. Thank you all for being here.
Priscilla Tyson, a City Council member. Happy to be here.
Shannon, Hardin, City Council member.
With Central Ohio Workforce Investment Corporation, also known as COWIC, a job developer there. And pretty much my job duty is working with employers in Central Ohio and bringing those jobs back to our job center at 1111 East Broad Street and working with our job seekers to place them.
Good evening. My name's Jo Youngs, and I'm also with Ohio Means Jobs Columbus, Franklin County. And I'm a director with Business Solutions, and we're the team that's primarily responsible for uncovering all the training and employment opportunities in the county. And quite often, some of you may have heard Mayor Coleman refer to our president and CEO, Suzanne Coleman Tolbert, as the jobs lady. Well, we're her jobs team.
Good evening. My name is Ezra Johnson. I'm a program manager at COWIC, Ohio Means Jobs, Columbus, Franklin County. My baby right now is Soar Hire Summer Youth Internship Program, and that's what I'm responsible for at the moment.
Good evening. My name is Michael Owens. I am a principal with Columbus City Schools, and in particular at the Columbus City Preparatory School for Boys. We definitely are in the business of educating boys of color for the last 5 years here in our city, and so I'm just happy to be here.
My name's Tim Jones. I go to The Ohio State University. I'm a third year. Happy to be here as well.
Great. What's your major?
Education.
Beautiful. You're at the right place.
My name is Corey Leffridge. I'm the program director for the APPS program, which is a comprehensive violence reduction strategy run through Parks and Recreation. We're focused in 4 neighborhoods that have had a history of high propensity for youth-involved violence. We extend rec hours. We have gang intervention workers in the community. We do a series of night festivals throughout the summer. We are engaged where no one else is.
Hi, I'm Carla Williams-Scott. I'm Assistant Director at Franklin County Department of Economic Development and Planning, and I am overseeing the Commissioner's Community Partnership Grants and the new PeopleWorks Workforce Development Program.
My name is Dorsey Hager. I'm head of the Columbus Central Ohio Building Trades. I represent the construction trades unions here in Columbus and Central Ohio that build your roads, bridges, buildings, schools, offices, hospitals. Their members do that work, and I would like to thank you for the invite and having me included in this task force.
So, particularly in light of the recent chaos and unrest that have occurred in cities around the country, you know what I'm talking about. Columbus, in many ways, those issues of violence could easily occur in the city of Columbus as a result of one incident or a single incident. So there's no better time to grapple with these issues than now. And for the record, we haven't just started. We've been working on these issues for some time now. And I'm proud of that and proud of the work that we've been doing to date, but there's still more to do. And this task force will be charged to develop this discussion, develop the plan of action, and then help get it executed in the city of Columbus. I want to thank you for your work. And now I want to bring up a person who is co-chair of this effort that cares about this issue of African American males and people of color, and has frankly done a lot in this area before he was on city council, and with APPS and the Black Male Initiative and so many other efforts and things he's done on his own, and has done a marvelous job and truly cares passionately about the plight of people of color in our community and communities around the country. And I'm proud to call him a friend, but also proud to have him as a co-chair of this task force. He will be much engaged in this long after I'm not mayor. He'll be engaged in this effort, to make sure that there's sustainability beyond my time in public office. Mr. Shannon G. Hardin, council member.
You can see how much respect I have for my mentor in that I found out what he was wearing today and went and grabbed the same jacket. So if emulation is a form of flattery, thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the mayor for his leadership of our city and specifically on this issue. Like the mayor said, this is not a new issue for us. This is an issue that we've been engaged in and working on for many years. When we received the call from the White House to step up and join cities around the country to engage our young men of color, the mayor eagerly took the task and got us on our way. What I want us to be cognizant of this evening, that this is more of the beginning than certainly the end. We are here to work, to have discussion, to kick ideas around, and continue a conversation. Like the mayor said, this started, his first convening was in December when he engaged 500 or 600 folks at the King Arts Complex for a conversation. So we're very proud of that. We got to hear from the community. This second piece is the task force, and we're going to put our heads in the paper and minds in the work and kind of talk through these things and kind of do the hard work in between. The next step will be a series of youth summits that the mayor spoke about that we will have this summer, north, south, east, and west. Because we can't come up with a plan for young men of color without talking to young men. And so they will be an integral part to whatever comes out of this. And then finally, we will pull all of these efforts together to put forth a report that will hopefully lead to a plan of action to continue the efforts, to grow on the efforts that we've already started. A big part of this, and I like what the mayor said, we've been, and the mayor has funded with the help of council before I got there, issues that touch young men for years. There are a lot of folks and a lot of agencies around the community who are funding and touching young men of color. I don't think that we should start a conversation about resources, because I think that right now the conversation should be about how can we leverage what we have going and kind of focus there. But everything is on the table. Everything will be on the table. So, like I said, I'm very appreciative of every single one of you guys that are here. Everybody around this room touches this community, and everyone around this room brings a wealth of experience and knowledge that can help move this community forward. Tonight, we're going to talk about workforce development. One of our two main sessions. The second will be about safety. As we explore workforce development and the environment, the issues, and the opportunities as it relates to young men of color, I've had the honor over the last several months to be on a council and to work with a leader and Councilmember Tyson, who leads us in the workforce development on council and in the city. And so I appreciate her being here to support this effort and to support what we're doing around workforce. And with that, I would like to bring up Councilmember Tyson. Thank you.
Good evening. And first I want to say thank you for each of you who have committed to the mayor and to Councilmember Hardin that you will work to make sure that our African-American boys and men have an opportunity to be able to thrive and grow and be the persons that they ought to be. Because certainly without them thriving and growing, our city will not be the city that it needs to be. So I want to commend the mayor, and I want to commend Councilmember Shannon Hardin for the work that they did previously and the work that they're going to do moving forward. Tonight's about workforce, and certainly I chair the workforce committee, but absolutely, the couple of areas that we know men of color certainly have concerns in workforce. I also chair health, and health is another area. We know that in workforce, that men of color, we have double-digit unemployment. So I'm glad we're going to be having that discussion. In terms of health, we know that homicide is one of the leading causes of black males and their death from 15 to 24. And so based upon those areas that I'm responsible for, and also human services, as Councilmember Hardin just mentioned, that human service agencies are all doing work in this area, but I think that this task force will be able to hear about all the work and figure out what's the best way to move forward. So I'm just really excited to be here, and I came here to support Councilmember Shannon Hardin. He's doing a fabulous job, and that this task force will certainly come up with strategies and solutions that will support positive outcomes for black males and black boys. And so I'm happy to be here and support my council member, Shannon Hardin. Thank you.
It's an honor to be here today, and certainly amongst an esteemed group of individuals that's going to help move our city forward. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the mayor for his leadership and city council for bringing this group together to bring Columbus together and so it can continue to thrive. But we cannot talk about the future if we don't talk about employment. There's a segment in all cities that are not functioning optimally. And so tonight we brought a group, our guests, to talk about some of the issues around employment and career readiness. And so we're going to hold our questions until our presenters present, and then we'll open it up for discussion and dialogue. So COED blessed us with their presence, and they're a viable entity within this community. And they're going to share some of the opportunities that they have ready available for youth in the city and how we might be able to leverage the opportunities that they bring to this city for our students, our young people to thrive in the society. I think our first presenter is from COED is Mr. DeJuan Falk, no, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jo Youngs. Okay.
Thanks so much for inviting us today to talk about the things that we have to offer, the programs that we have to offer in terms of supporting our young African-American males here in Franklin County. I was actually speaking with Councilwoman Tyson. I'm used to calling her by her first name, so I have to practice. But when I was talking with her a few minutes ago, I thought, well, wait a minute. Not that I have forgotten I have a son and he's African American, but I see him every day and just do things so naturally for him that I really hadn't put it in the perspective of, holistically. And he actually happens to be an entrepreneur. That road worked a lot better for him. And he learned a lot of his skills from a mentor, and that he started working with in the summers when he was 14 years old. And now he's in his 20s. I won't say exactly how old because then you'll try to guess my age. But he's now a licensed plumber. He's licensed in HVAC. And I was sharing with Councilwoman that I now pretend, in between my work that I do for COED, I pretend that I'm his administrative assistant. So right now he's interviewing to hire 2 staff. So that's how much he's grown. And some of the things that we counsel our young folks on in preparing for the workforce, or the soft skills, all of that, I've been sharing that with him as far as what he needs to do and look for to find a viable employee for his business. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I hadn't even thought about it until I actually got here today. But what we want to do is myself, Dewan, and Ezra, I'm going to just share some information with you on a high level on the economic development region. And the region involves actually 11 counties in the region that's been identified by Columbus 2020 in the Chamber. And my reason for doing that is because it really shows the difference here in Franklin County versus other areas around us. I mean, it's a really interesting difference. And our mission. Our mission is to meet the employment needs of businesses and job seekers to support economic development within Central Ohio. I did want to mention also that one thing we've really been growing with the support of Mayor Coleman, Priscilla Tyson, Shannon, and other members in the community to help us really grow and be able to have the accessibility for folks no matter where they're located within the county. So right now, we've been very fortunate to be able to meet that mission as far as accessibility. We have our main location on Broad in Ohio, our office. We've been arguing about whose office is it. Is the Parts of Rec, or is it really ours, our building? But anyways, also with Goodwill Columbus, we have an access point there, Jewish Family Services, and now we have a job center on the west side. And hopefully late this year or early next year, we'll also have a location on Reeb. One thing that we try to do in terms of helping folks with the need, that have the need, as you mentioned earlier, the pockets of unemployment, we really try to make sure that we are accessible to those folks. So for instance, with the Reeb location that's coming later on this year, we're already working on the south side. We were granted some monies through the Workforce Development Committee for City Council, led by Priscilla Tyson. We were able to provide training to over 22 folks with short-term certification in hot industries, and they've all received employment. So thank you very much for that support. So on the south side, for the one particular zip code that's experiencing the highest unemployment is 43205. Their unemployment is at 22%. I mean, 22%. So when we see our unemployment rate at being, under 4%, countywide, that's really not telling the whole story. So even in terms of the West Side Job Center, one of the zip codes of focus on that side of town is 43222, and their unemployment in that particular zip code is at 31%. It's 31%, so there's a lot of work to do. Okay, we can go on. Oh, I did want to mention also, as we're looking at this slide, Franklin County has been enjoying really large growth economically as far as bodies, folks moving into the region, and businesses moving into the region. And it's projected right now that pretty soon we'll be over 2 million residents within Franklin County. And so that means that we'll be right in line with Cincinnati, who right now has the largest population. But this, I mentioned earlier, the economic development region includes a number of counties. And this slide right here shows the number of businesses by counties. And you can see the really glaring difference between the counties, which just basically says there's a lot of opportunity here as far as employment. Then this slide right here is a graphic that shows the number of job openings that are available in each county. And the place that we pulled this information is from the Ohio Means Jobs website, which is a statewide website that was established by Governor Kasich, and his intent was that it be a website where folks anywhere in Ohio could go and find jobs anywhere in Ohio. So this was the source that we used, but you could see, you know, the disparaging difference, which really matches the slide prior. Franklin County being, and this is as of February of this year, but 42,000 jobs. Okay. All right, I'm going to bring DeJuan up so that he can talk a little bit more about the wages and then kind of bring it down to information that we share with folks that are in the demographic that the task force is addressing.
Thank you, Ms. Youngs, and thank you for having me this evening. I first want to start off by saying that I definitely do appreciate being here tonight and definitely working under Ms. Youngs at COWIC. Sometimes I think that she thinks that she's my mom. I had to go get her lunch today, but she paid, so it was fine. So I definitely do. I'm very honored to be here this evening, and I'm definitely privileged to go over this information with you guys. So first, what we're taking a look at is a wage comparison. At our main center at 1111 East Broad Street, quite often our planning and resource department will take a look at the job seekers that come through our room, through our job center. So this is a snapshot of a point in time of 125 placements, 125 people who have jobs, and we took a look at their wages by race and education. So clearly you can see by the colors are represented different races where the African American race lies. When I first took a look at this, I wondered, where is that gap? What can we do to take a look at that? And first thing I thought about was knowing the value of yourself. So when you're going into a job, when you're going into a career, knowing what that labor market rate looks like based upon your experience as well as what you're bringing to that organization. On the next slide, you'll take a look at, we broke it down a little bit further by race and gender. So as you can see, the African American race is the teal blue color, and clear across the board, you can see where we lie. So with that being information that we took a look at as workforce, this is definitely something that we want to try to address and taking a look at, how can we change that and what steps do we need to take to at least make it, even. So the next slide we want to talk about is entering the workforce. Entering the workforce for myself started at 14 years of age. With myself being a proud graduate of East High School, I definitely worked. I definitely worked a lot with my parents, and officially at the age of 14, starting my first job on the weekends, which was not the best as a high school student, at a hotel as a bellhop. But with that became a lot of responsibilities. The first thing I had to do was prioritize. So prioritizing what I was able to do that my friends were not able to do on Friday night. So that may have been going to the movies. I may have had to, set that one back. And also just balancing work and school. That's always a big key thing that, we definitely want to address. My parents were very big on not letting either one slip, not letting work slip nor school. I definitely wanted to work because I was very trendy. I like clothes. So I wanted to make sure that, I upheld both. So with My Brother's Keeper on the next slide, we definitely want to talk about, there are 5 milestones with My Brother's Keeper, and we want to address 3 of them this evening. And this is going to talk about once you enter the workforce, starting at graduating from high school, what do you do? What does that look like, okay? So the first one is talking about graduating from high school and ready for college and career. So as we all know, once you graduate high school, that's always a big relief. But in actuality, that's just the beginning. So what we see as in workforce development is that high school is the minimum requirement that is actually trending for employers. So less and less jobs, more and more jobs are requiring more than just a high school diploma. Now that doesn't necessarily mean a 4-year degree or a bachelor's or a master's. It could be something as simple as a certification. We are also seeing that trades are coming back very popular. Apprenticeships are coming back. So those are things that we are really taking a look at, and we're seeing that trend. Short-term certifications, are key as well in industries such as IT. For example, a CompTIA A+ certification is mandatory pretty much for any IT position. So we want to try to address that. Secondly, we want to talk about successfully entering the workforce. So once you do get the job, how does the culture of that job look? The soft skills that come along with working on a day-to-day basis. So simple things as simple as arriving on time, finishing out till the job is done. Communication skills, conflict management. How do you handle those things? And there's always a way to handle things properly, but I think, us as workforce, we definitely want to try to address those issues, not only to have someone get a job, but for retention purposes as well. And last but not least, keeping youth on track and giving them second chances if they need it. So keeping youth on track could be a number of things. So one thing that I always take a look at is continuing education. So once you have your associates, once you have your certification, continuing that education. And along with that is where tuition reimbursement lies in, which is my favorite, because we all know that education costs. However, we want to try to make it as cost effective as possible. Tuition reimbursement is something that a lot of employers lie near and dear to them because it actually shows that a person is taking initiative to further their education to better themselves for the company. So companies look at that as a win-win situation. Also, what we also see for those who may have had troubles in their past, we definitely want to try to assist them as well. We don't want to try to let them fall too deep off the tracks. The sooner we can assist them, the sooner we can get them back on the right track. So, and even keeping youth on track can mean as far as, with employers nowadays, we are seeing that they are starting to take a look at credit scores and things like that. So it doesn't always have to mean that someone is, has a bad criminal background. It could be that they have, credit issues and things like that that are preventing them for the career that they need at times. So next one we're going to talk about is career pathways. Career pathways is pretty much, a strategy. I look at it as a strategy to identify a career opportunity and execute it. So for example, if you wanted to be a doctor, if you wanted to be a lawyer, what career path will you take? What steps, what jobs could you start off first to be a doctor? Maybe you want to start off as a STNA. Maybe you want to start off as a home health aide. Or even in the IT field, if you wanted to be, at the end of the day, a manager or create your own database. Where do you start with that? What does that look like? So these are things that we can bring to the table for these young African-American males and people of color to let them know what that looks like and guide them into those steps. And that's what we also do at COWIC as well. And Ezra will talk a little bit further in detail about our Career Pathways program that we do for our youth. So one topic that we chose to talk about this evening is information technology. So one thing that I did take a look at today is currently in IT on OhioMeansJobs.com, there are over 5,000 jobs that are available today for any field in IT, 5,409 to be exact, okay? And IT is everywhere. IT is everywhere. IT is in schools. IT is on the police force. From the computers that are in the police cars, from the server that goes down at school. There's someone that fixes that, from smartphones that change every day. So as soon as you buy one, it's outdated, right? IT is everywhere. So that's why I chose to focus on this industry this evening. So what we did was we take a look at what type of jobs you can receive with the high school diploma in this field. So as you see on this next screen, it's pretty much only one topic that you can take a look at. And also what we've taken a look at will be the wages from an entry level according to Ohio Means Jobs with little to no experience. And if you maintain that high school diploma topping out, at that $18.51. Interactive media, could be your basic data entry for any texting, any graphic, any design parts from computers to cell phones. On the next slide, we take a look at with the certification, what job opportunities come about then. Now you're starting to see a little bit more growth with as little as 8 weeks of training with a CompTIA A+ certification. Now you're able to do support or help desk. So when your dish network goes out or when your cable goes out, or my favorite is when the internet just stops working for no reason and you get the red light. Who do you call? You call help support desk. So that person at some point in time probably has some type of training to walk you through those steps to fix that modem or that TV or whatever it is. And also network systems. So when you're in school as a teacher or as a police officer, if you're driving and that computer goes out, you have to call someone to fix that. And it's usually remotely. So there's usually someone that's not next to you. It's usually a phone call that you make, and that person walks you through the steps and get that computer back up and running. So these are all careers that we can take a look at with the certification. Moving along with an associate's degree from a two-year school or even a 4-year school, as you can see, more growth is coming up. So now, not only can you become a support help desk person, but you can also become a specialist at this point in time. And as you always see, the finances are going up. So your income is going up, but along with that, more responsibilities are being weighed on you as well. Now we see programming in the mix. So now we look at graphic design, web developers. So for those who like designing, websites or designing anything, if you're anybody like me who every time something breaks down and your mom and dad calls me, I'm the person that fixes everything in my family. So if you're that type of person and that's your drive, you may want to take a look at some type of developing there. And then also with interactive media, now more evolution has started. So now you can look at video programming, computer programming. And the last slide we take a look at is finally with a bachelor's or a master's from a college or institution, those jobs there. Now you can finally see that in network systems, not only can you be that person to fix it, but now you also can be a database manager to actually have a team under you and manage them as you started off. So we just wanted to bring this to the table to show the evolution of growth, well, with just a little bit of education. We all understand that, everyone can't go to a 2-year or 4-year school. Everyone can't go to, great places and be at colleges for 4 years. But it is proven from our job center that certifications, 8-week programs, 6-week programs in healthcare is key and can change people's lives. Also, we take a look at emerging technology. So this is technology that, with information technology, that is evolving. So with IT, we take a look at 3 emerging technology pieces. So one will be video game testing. So who wouldn't want to be a video game tester all day if you were a younger person, right? A smartphone tech, when you take your phone to Sprint and they take all day to fix it, that person is a smartphone tech. And my favorite is a brain-computer interfaces. So this is something new that you definitely can take a look at. As you see the device, it looks like a call center headset. However, it goes towards the temple and the back parts of your brain. And with that computer, there is no mouse. It actually reads what your brain wants the computer to do, and it executes that. So this is always emerging technology with information technology. So we just wanted to bring that to the table today. And without further ado, I definitely want to pass it along to my colleague, Ezra Johnson, to talk about some of our services with SOAR Hire and COWIC.
All right, good evening. First thing I would like to do is commend Councilmember Hardin because I had an opportunity to be in front of him and hear him speak prior to him taking office. And I remember him talking about his passion and desire to see the advancement of young men of color. And this is prior to him taking office. And so with us being here and him co-chairing this initiative, shows that there's action behind what people say. And sometimes you don't always get a chance to kind of track, some of the ideas that people have during campaigning to say, I remember you said you were going to do this. Are you really going to do that? And so to see him here today, under the pretenses of helping young black men is commendable. And also, Councilmember Priscilla Tyson, thank you for your continued support of COIC and the initiatives that we have as well. So I kind of want to talk about our Career Pathways program first. One thing that COIC does is we get a lot of light and shine for our SOAR Hire Summer Youth Internship Program. Rightfully so. It's a high volume. It's an opportunity to engage youth when their schedules are free. There's no school. So we get those in high volumes. But I want to touch on our Career Pathways program. It's a program that not many people know about. And I think part of the reason of having these discussions is to figure out what resources are already out there and how we can kind of link young people to those resources once we're aware of what's out there. So career pathway. So I imagine loosely determining a pathway as a route to a destination. And so what COIC does with our funding is we understand that we can't do this alone. So we partner with some community-based organizations that are in charge of recruitment, case management, placement of the young people. And what we do first is we bring the young person in and we help them dream and come up with a destination. So what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to go? And so we look at their current skills, their current work experience, and we do an individual success strategy. So it's kind of fun because once we get them to dream and they talk about what they want to do, we say, okay, back down to today. So where do we start today to help you on that pathway? And so we develop an objective assessment to kind of figure out, again, what their skill sets are, what their history and experiences are, to kind of marry the two together to figure out what the best pathway for them would be. COIC, and especially a lot of credit to our business solutions team who is tasked with the responsibility of engaging employers in the community, helping them understand the urgency of helping our population and our opportunity youth and young black men of color. And so we get together with employers and we say, what are you looking for? What do you see that young people are lacking? And so what we do is we take that information and we kind of put that into our workforce development, work readiness training, and some of the other things that we do to work with young people in their career pathway. And so what we try to do is prepare them with the things that align exactly with what the employer said that they're looking for, so that we can have a strategic and intentional route to where they want to go. So the career pathway is essentially getting you from where you are today to that destination that we kind of explored and talked about when you first entered the doors. We operate under WIA funding, which is Workforce Innovations Act, which is quickly moving to WIOA. Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And with those funds, we are providing 10 program elements at the moment. And so the 10 program elements are kind of the vehicle to get you from where you are to where you want to be on that pathway. So some of those things include counseling, mentoring, leadership development, tutoring, summer internship experience, paid, unpaid work experience. And so kind of one of the benefits of our program is the program is really customized to what you want. And so we don't have a cookie cutter route to how to get to where you want to go. We first talk to you and see what you want to do, and we melt what you need to get to where you want to go and to make you most successful. And so that's ultimately our Career Pathways program. Along with WIA and WIOA, we have funding that pays for certifications. We have ITA, which is individual training accounts, which is funds that allows for a young person to get training paid for by COIC with those funding. So as Mr. Fuqua was talking earlier, and he referenced healthcare and somebody wanted to be a doctor, and so let's say they're a part of the COIC fold and they're in our program, they say, I want to be a doctor. Well, we say, okay, first you need to probably get certified at STNA. And so part of what we do when speaking with some of our employers is we try to figure out some of the best entities, the most credible entities that are providing these certifications. And so they become part of our partnership in our database of those industries or those organizations that we would fund certification in. And so you come through our doors and you would like to be a doctor, have interest, and we say, okay, you may need to be certified in STNA. We pay for that. As a part of the Career Pathway Program, I mentioned an internship opportunity. And so with that opportunity, we allow the young person 6 to 8 weeks to explore the career, to have an opportunity to kind of see what it looks like firsthand. And to be honest, this is also an opportunity to say, I don't think this is what I want to do. I thought I did, but once I got into the field, it just didn't seem like what I thought it was going to be. So we utilize that as a part of the pathway to get to where they want to go. So that's just kind of what we do at COIC in our Career Pathways program. I will say that one of our challenges with the program is a lot of our youth have needs that need to be kind of instantly satisfied, money being one of those. And so part of our challenge is to get the young person to kind of think long-term. And so what we do with our internship experience is kind of strategically use it as a carrot, as an opportunity for them to come in the doors and kind of get an internship opportunity to get some money in their pocket. And then we kind of long-term at the same time help them understand what it means to kind of work on your future. And so young people come in and they say, I want a job. And we say, well, what can you do? Well, I can't do nothing, but I want to work. I need money. Okay, well, it takes time to develop you and to put tools in your toolbox to make you more efficient and more ready for the workforce. And so a lot of times it's hard to get the young person to see the future and to buy into working today for that future. And you may not necessarily be making, 100 figures next week, but there are steps to take to put you in the best situation to hopefully one day make those type of figures, or at least enough money to become self-sufficient, take care of yourself and your family. So one of the things outside of our Career Pathways program is our SOAR Hire Summer Youth Internship Program, which is very near and dear to my heart because it's got my hair turning gray over the last couple of weeks. But we've been fortunate enough to partner with the City of Columbus. They have been gracious enough over the years to provide us with funding to help pay the wages for our young folks. And the Franklin County Board of Commissioners, Franklin County Department of Jobs and Family Services has also extended us some funding to support our program. Currently, our application process was from April 6th. We ended Monday, May 11th. We closed out with approximately 5,000 applications, to be almost exact. It's like 4,952 applications, and we have 550 available positions. So we see that the need is there. Part of, kind of the hard thing is to explain that, we can't serve everybody we would like to. But them being there and being engaged kind of shows us the need, even if we're not able personally to help them. But being involved in these discussions, we're able to kind of see who else is doing other things so that we can link them to those resources. And so SOAR Hire is one of our prided programs for our youth. And with that internship opportunity, we kind of give them jewels to help them beyond their internship. So we know that an internship is only 8 weeks, but we try to invest in them and give them something that they can use on their career journey post SOAR Hire. So we do workforce development, leadership development, financial literacy, and those type of things. And we also really big is professional behavior. And I think that's one of the things that we work on the most with our young people is essentially knowing how to turn it on and turn it off. And then there's a time and place for everything. And so knowing how to actively work and be professional is not compromising your cool per se. It's just knowing when you're in a certain room, and around certain people, you need to conduct yourself in a certain manner. And so that's one of the big things that we go over and work with the young people with over the summer. So if you are not engaged in Career Pathways or our SOAR Hire internship program, COIC does offer a series of workshops that you can kind of take a la carte. If you have certain concentrated needs that you look to get developed. So we have resume building class. And so as we all know, the look and landscape of a resume changes by what job you're looking for. It changes year by year in reference to what it looks like, what employers are looking for. So we keep our ear to the street to figure out what employers are looking for. So we constantly offer that. We also offer interview skills training. And so the way we look at that is normally if an employer gets your resume and they call you in, most likely they're interested in you. And so you have an opportunity to kind of sell yourself in this interview. And so we want to put youth or young people or young black men of color, also other demographics, put them in the best position to be successful by giving them some tools and some best practices on the best way to kind of position yourself in an interview. And we have critical thinking, professional behavior, leadership development, to name a few other of our workshops that we offer at COIC. One of the other things that we also touch on in any of our engagement with young people is community involvement. And so not only having skills, but having a network of people. So being involved, being visible. I can personally say myself that I was a part of the Leadership Academy through former Senator Ray Miller, where I had an opportunity to personally engage with Councilmember Tyson and Councilmember Hardin in a way that I might not have ever had an opportunity to do so. And so being a part, being active in the community lets you be visible and also meet people. As we all know, it's not always what you know, but who you know. And also, I attend church with Councilmember Hardin as well. And so being active and involved in other things, it helps me, it helps young people to build a network where you may have at some point in time been at a rec center, Boys and Girls Club, and been active in programs, and you've grown up and now you're looking for a job. Well, maybe one of your camp's counselors has taken another role and they have the opportunity to hire you. And so they remember when you were young coming through the center. And so those type of relationships increase the likelihood, as we know nothing is guaranteed, but just to increase the likelihood of you being hired and being successful are some of the things that we kind of encourage our young people to do. So COIC is always a resource. I think that we are always involved in looking to see how we can partner with other initiatives and things that are going on. And we always make ourselves available as a resource to young people. And we are dedicated to the mission of not only young black Americans, but young people, opportunity youth, and young people across the city of Columbus and Franklin County. So I think we're okay. I know that was a bad landing, but I think we're finished. But thank you all for your time, and we look forward to partnering with you.
Thank you, Ezra, Joanne, and Dewan for the presentation. I think what we saw presented was a good landscape, a good starting point for a conversation to get us started. And this is the exciting part. We have folks around the room that now hearing kind of where we are, know of opportunities, know of issues, know of training needs, know of different opportunities that could potentially engage this community. We want to engage in conversation now and kind of kick things around. When you don't follow your talking points earlier, I forgot to mention or to highlight that Dr. Keisha Hunley-Jenkins and Dr. James Moore are the co-chairs of this commission, and will kind of help guide us and facilitate us through the rest of the conversation for the remainder of our time this evening. Dr. Keisha Hunley-Jenkins will probably be the person in my office that will be talking to you guys in between these meetings and sharing more information, and so we really appreciate her for her leadership, and Dr. Moore, of course. I also want to recognize my colleague, Councilmember Jiza Page, who joined us, and I'm very grateful that she has joined for the conversation. Councilmember Page chairs the Education and Recreation and Parks Committee, and so her insight is very much appreciated. So with that, Dr. Moore and Dr. Hunley-Jenkins.
Can we sit here?
Sure.
Okay. Enough everybody.
Just talk loud.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I just we don't want to belabor the point we're all here because we know that there's a lot of work, a lot of great work going on, and a lot of work to still be done. Thank you to COIC again for coming to give us a great overview of all. I know that was just a small portion of the services that you all provide, but thank you for that. And as the changes from WIOA now, as those continue to come down, we look forward to hearing about how that will impact us here on the ground. I don't know if many of you had a chance. We did send a copy of a workforce report that the Columbus Foundation commissioned. It was just released earlier this year. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the hard numbers. We're not going to go through, because I know you all have a chance to peruse that. But when we look at key characteristics of opportunity youth, which is defined as youth who are either unemployed or not in school, specifically ages 16 to 24. I know that age range varies depending on who you're speaking with. But in Franklin County, we have 20,500 young adults who are categorized as opportunity youth. And that amounts to $647 million annually lost in productivity, tax revenue, and all of the other supportive services that they require because they don't have a lot of opportunity. We're also looking at another point down here, I think it's the third bullet point, which talks about 51,000 Franklin County youth ages 18 to 24 don't have a college experience, 18,000 lack a high school diploma or GED. And we can go on, but we just wanted to point out those numbers so that as we think about ideas and different opportunities and the needs for our this population, that's at top of mind, and that while we have great work going on, how do we take that to scale? How do we reach more? How do we make sure that there's a match process between those who have the need and the programs that are available? And how do we strategically grow those opportunities? So I think we wanted to open the floor up for that discussion. I'll turn it over to Dr. Moore to see if he has anything else to add.
Certainly, we know that you all have linkages all across the community, and we would love to hear about some of those exemplary programs that you're aware of, because it's about, we live in an era of limited resources, and so naturally we want to figure out how we can leverage what we do have, not necessarily focus on what we don't have. And oftentimes when we leverage what we do have, we can have even greater impact. And so I'm going to open it up to the floor at this time.
I guess I'll go first. I will say that it's commendable of the work that is being done by organizations like COIC, and I guess the way that I can approach this conversation is with another question, just as a way to enter into this delicately. The one thing that many of our youth, or especially our young black males, struggle with is that as many of these initiatives are developed, many of these programs are developed, whether they are collaborative in nature or individually developed, they're not always sensitive to the array of needs of our young people. And so one of the conversations that we must have is, as we engage more employers in providing more opportunities, to make sure that when 4,000, nearly 5,000 applications are received, there's more than 550 jobs available. But then going beyond that is, how do we make those 550 jobs stick and become pathways towards a career, or at least an opportunity to stay in that job or turn that job into an apprenticeship going forward once you return back to school? Or if it is just a summer opportunity, how can that become your internship or your community service opportunity for the remainder of the school year, because we know that's a graduation requirement anyway, right? So what innovations can be done to connect that experience from being paid to do it as an entryway, but then it becoming a co-op experience as an exit strategy? And what relationship with the schools can be created to see kind of that meaningful connection take place. I guess that's a long way to say that's an opportunity for us to really start thinking about as we develop our collaborations.
I'll say, I think one area that needs to be pumped up or given more attention to is spending more time with the employers and encouraging them about the untapped gems, the resource. But one thing that's happening that's to the advantage of the younger folks is that a lot of folks are aging out of these jobs. There's a lot of aging out, and initially we were seeing it in just like manufacturing or some of the occupations like welding, and RNs, but we're seeing it across the board in all types of positions, industries and occupations. So I think that having more frank conversation with employers, pulling them together, in some type of group discussion. And also, I think another thing that we're doing at COWIC is really looking at sitting down with the employers and seeing what they're looking for in folks holistically, and structuring our work readiness workshops, as Ezra spoke earlier, to meet those specific needs. We've even started working with employers one-on-one and developing workshops just for them so that we can develop folks that more closely meet their needs. There's an employer that we work with in the Rickenbacker area that's associated with Starbucks, Solution City, SK Food Group. And they're really committed, SK Food Group and Starbucks is really committed to providing opportunities for the opportunity youth, folks from 18 on up to 24 years of age. So we really try to prepare the young folks and let them know what the real world of work is. So I think it needs to be a lot more of that. Just really letting the young folks know what the real world of work is like and really getting employers engaged. And then just one more thing, and I'll pass it on. But Ezra mentioned WIOA, and there's a lot with the new law. There's a lot to be ironed out and how it's going to be implemented. But one thing that we do know is that one of the groups that are going to are required to, well, two groups that are required to get a lot of attention are youth and young adults, and also employers. So engaging employers more and working with the youth and young adults. So that's a perfect situation to really make some changes and really look at things outside the box. So to make a long story short.
Also, if I may answer your question a bit further, I think that we do need to engage the employers up front to set our expectations for what we're looking for and need from them. But I think, I think we need to kind of turn the corner a little bit and not just focus on placement, but retention. And so when the young person enters his experience, their thought process is, I want to stay here and I want to move up. And so I know that, we focus on getting them there, which is half the battle. But how successful would we be if we have not worked with them on how to turn a job into a career? And so one of the things about an internship is it's your opportunity to show who you are, to earn a long-term position in that particular field or job or industry. And so I will take some onus on that in saying that that's part of what we need to kind of develop more within our package of resources that we offer is retention. A lot of the jobs, the entry-level jobs that our young people have the skills to acquire, they're not interested in. They don't want to just stay on the front line. And so you have to have a conversation with them and say, based off of your skill set and where you are, you're not able to come and jump to level 3 yet. You have to start at level 1. But if we work with them on how to position yourself to go to level 2 and 3, that may help them be more successful. Things such as developing a portfolio of things you've done while you've worked there. Small things like if somebody sends you an email and says, hey, Ezra, good job, then you print that off, put it in your portfolio. Positioning yourself, always checking the intranet and the internal communication about what jobs are going to be posted, going forward. So I think that some of our programming, at COIC and with our youth department needs to have some type of focus on, once you get there, how do you become successful and retain yourself? Because some of the onus is on the young person to kind of make sure that they've done the things necessary to be recognized to stay.
Youth that do not get the positions during the summer and decide to take the career development classes that are available to them, do they receive a credential or some kind of priority the next time opportunities come available?
That's a good question. At this point in time, the way that it's structured, there is no credential that's gained. We've tried to work with a governing body to kind of go over our curriculum and see what we would need to do to make our curriculum one you can receive a certificate from. Yes, those who have went through the summer program, who have expressed a need to go further, they are immediately engaged. I won't say they take any priority, but it is showing some type of initiative that you're motivated and you see something beyond the summer. But part of our problem at COIC, and this is just being transparent, is keeping those youth engaged after the summer, because normally it's like summer, I got my checks, I was able to get my Jordans, and then I'm gone. And so it's saying, hey, wait a minute, we have more to offer. Come back, stay with us. It's a difficult thing, and we're working through how to make that a better process. But we certainly do try our best to keep those young people engaged, and we are trying to work to figure out how we can at least get some type of certification for the work readiness trainings and the workshops that they do that we offer.
Can I ask Mr. Owens, is there something that you think could happen with the Black Male Initiative that I know Columbus City Schools is working on, in that there is some kind of handoff so that there is some community service or co-op experience that comes from the summer experience?
I was sitting here thinking that, one of the conversations around mentoring and just that ongoing community-based mentoring, that ongoing apprenticeship type of contact should be something that is a part of initiatives such as this, because I was just speaking with a parent of mine yesterday, and she was talking about how she was trying to find something for her 7th grade boy to get involved in over the summer. And unfortunately, it seems as though you have to have a certain income base to qualify, and she does not meet that income base. And so she was saying, well, Mr. Owens, can we do something? Can they look at grades? My son is above a 3.0 GPA average, but of course I make too much money. And so she is in this quandary as to what do I do with my son to engage him over the summer as a working mom. And so knowing that our school system has a partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and knowing that those various organizations are in our schools once a week, there has to be, again, leveraging those workers within those particular industries that are involved with programs such as Big Brothers Big Sisters, linking them with COIC of some sort, but looking at how you're involving yourselves with those that are a part of providing those internship opportunities, and continuing this partnership over a period of time, and then there be an expectation of partnership and expectation of time spent. That's what I was thinking.
One thing I do want to speak to really quick is I think that to the point of keeping young adults engaged while they're in school, I know one thing that was really big for myself and a lot of friends of mine were career centers. So that was something that it taught me a lot of things. One, how to multitask, school, as well as for me, it was, IT. So I did a lot of IT stuff at the Southeast Career Center, as well as some of my other friends did construction at that career center. And it showed me at a young age how to balance how to balance going to school for half the day and then transferring over, taking that hat off and then putting another hat on per se. And now it's time for me to, start doing construction or whatever that career center may be. And I just think that, I know that a lot of those are not open anymore, but maybe that's something that we need to take a look back and revisit, because it's a lot more than just getting those trades and those skills. It really shows a lot of earnest on that young adult, and that person, again, in a career center, it was a credential that you had to get even considered for that career center. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
I'm just curious, and just through my own personal work with school districts, particularly urban school districts around the country, it seems to me to leverage resources, it seems to be very important. Where are the kids? And the kids are in the schools, right? And oftentimes when I go around the country, programs are developed absent of the schools. And kids spend more time in schools. So the question that I have is, do we have any school-based initiatives where we can have continuity and follow-through, and it can be reinforced with classroom instruction, with the kinds of workshops that you all are providing? Mm-hmm. And I ask this question, for example, I'm very concerned with young people who might have a criminal record, but they already go to school. And so we don't need to do a background check in that same way because they're already in the school. And so we know some employers just wouldn't hire people with a criminal record. But it seems to me Columbus City Schools have enough potential work opportunities because they already educate them, right? So why couldn't we employ them? Because the funding is coming from the resources that you all have. So my first question, do you have any school-based programs? And what do you think about an idea like that?
I think that's a wonderful point. Good question. So to break down our Career Pathways program, part of it is in-school youth. So we focus on juniors and seniors primarily to help them graduate and or receive a GED. The other portion of our Career Pathways program is for out-of-school youth, and that's helping them re-engage in school, post-secondary education, work, and or military placement. To be honest, and I guess that's what we were supposed to be doing here, a lot of our providers who are tasked with actually doing the work, they do try to get into the schools to recruit, to kind of engage the young person. And I can't say myself that I've been in those conversations as to why or why not, but I can say that they haven't been very successful. The achievement of our young people in our in-school and our enrollment in our in-school programs is pretty low. And I think a lot of that is credited to the lack of relationship that we have with the different school districts and the powers that be in those school districts. But that is something that, that's part of the melting pot of things we're cooking up right now that we probably need to engage. As of right now, that relationship is pretty sketchy. But the idea of our in-school program is to be in schools, but kind of respect what the school is doing as well. I kind of think that some of the schools feel like, well, that's what we're doing. We're doing this for the young person, and so for you to come in our school and kind of take some of our thunder, I don't know if that has sat well, but in respects to what the school is doing, kind of making our niche and saying, we know that's what you're doing, but we just want to offer this so that they're more prepared for the world of work once they graduate. And so having those conversations with, the superintendent of Columbus City Schools and other school districts around Franklin County needs to happen. And so I'm bullet pointing that as something that we need to kind of pursue a little more rapidly and with a little more oomph to kind of make that happen. So I think that's an excellent idea. I think that what we see, me personally, is that young people are not graduating high school ready for the world of work. And so there are schools that require like work readiness as a part of one of their periods. So like, you know, homeroom is not homeroom anymore. It's workforce development or something like that. But I believe, and this is a partnership with the school district, that workforce development needs to be a part of the curriculum. And I think very basically marketing and branding yourself, I think that's necessary in anything that you're doing. So I think having those type of courses available for high school students, and even starting in middle school is essential. But getting into the curriculum is kind of a harder task said than done to impose those type of things. But it is an idea, something that we've scratched our head about, but it's something that we would like to do going forward.
If I could share just a couple things. I'm not as intimately involved as Ezra on the youth side of the business, but I will say that I've been in conversations with representatives from Columbus Public Schools. And I mentioned earlier welding, I just touched on that. But that is an occupation that, for the right person, it's very lucrative. And folks are really aging out to a point where employers are really worried about that. So we have been in conversation with Columbus Public Schools because at Fort Hayes, they have a facility there to train folks in welding and also in auto detailing, painting, and all of that. And those are, the auto detailing piece is a occupation that would be of interest to young folks. Along with that, we're talking about starting to enroll folks in their STNA program and actually having a lab at COWIC if we can meet the standards to have a lab. So just with I just wanted to share that those are two occupations or areas that we're talking with Columbus Public Schools as far as training young folks in those occupations.
Just a couple things. I think that because we certainly have been funding programs with Columbus State. I'll just share this, that I know I funded a program called Cougar Bridge to allow individuals who have high school diplomas, but they can't pass the Compass test to be able to even take the certification. So I have funded Columbus State to try to make sure that we give those young people the tools that they need to try to, so that they can pass the Compass test. I will tell you, it's been very, very, very difficult. Because a couple things are happening, and this is all this opportunity youth, a couple things are happening. One, they see what their scores are, and their scores are so low that they don't see how they're going to get to the place to pass. They also need money while they're going to school to try to take the class. And I mean, it literally is a real challenge. And that one, in terms of the other initiative we're funding at the city, Fast Path, we certainly know that there's so many other challenges that individuals in this group have, that the way the programs are set up, that you really can't miss any time. If you have children, child gets sick, you really can't, you miss a day or two, you now have to almost start all over again. And also, the other backgrounds don't permit them to get into the program to be successful. So when you read this, start looking at this report that of Opportunity Youth, I think this is put together with the foundation and others, but if you think about the 18 to 24-year-olds, and it says employers, first of all, there aren't any real employers that are looking to hire Opportunity Youth. That's what this report is sharing. And that there are several reasons that these young people aren't able to get jobs. Lack of a high school diploma or GED, transient work history, lack of foundation or customer service skills, bad attitude or work ethic, and the failure to pass a drug test or disclose a criminal record. So hopefully part of this will be, you've got to really understand who the Opportunity Youth really happen to be and what are their barriers to being able to move forward. and what type of jobs can we get, can they be a part of and be successful in that's really outside of the traditional work. Because if you don't have employers that's going to hire them, we've got to come up with some other ideas. And certainly we know we have a shortage. We have a shortage in the insurance business. We have a shortage in healthcare. We have a lot of shortages. But in those shortages, oftentimes, if these are this is a profile of an opportunity youth, and the employers won't hire them, that's still a big gap. So hopefully part of this, and if you look at the numbers, I think that, we look at 18,000 young people, 18,000 opportunity youth in Franklin County don't have a GED or high school diploma. So how do we solve that? That's part of, I think, you're talking about workforce, is how do we begin to solve this?
So I have a couple of questions. So you're talking about career centers and how they were developed. I went to Fort Hays Career Center myself, and I went for acting. So for me, and just to be completely honest, for me, it was brought to me as you can go somewhere and, you can learn a trade. It can also help your GPA, and you can have credentials to get to college. Well, for some of my friends that were also going to Career Center, it was just a place to not go to school. So, I mean, there's a point where it's like we're trying to create resources, but at the same time, there's a ground level that says, well, what's actually happening on the ground. So, I mean, just being there only a couple years ago, some of my friends now who graduated with certifications as auto repair techs, and they have theater, for instance, but they have like a whole bunch of different things. They don't have jobs right now. And after talking to them, well, didn't you get certification? Well, that didn't mean anything when I went to get hired. I put it on my resume, but I don't think it helped. That's the type of language that's around. So it's the quality of what we're giving them, because we can tell people that they can go get certified. We can tell the youth that they can get certified and that they'll have a better chance of getting a job. But then when they get certified and they go through it and then they don't see the impact, then it kind of sets them back, I think. So how do we address the quality, one, of the education that we give them there, and two, finding more resources out of those specific trade centers? Because I feel like if we can show employers that our students are going to become auto repair, become welders, and they're spending time and getting the grades and doing what they have to take, then they might not fit the curriculum or whatever they're saying that's wrong with problems youth. They might not fit that, because now the employers have an opportunity to see, well, now they're spending, because I had to spend 2 years to get the certification. So we show, okay, they were able to spend 2 years training, prepared, coming to school on time, being focused, and then getting the job. Now we have a route for the employer. So how do we get that connection to stick? That's my question.
I wondered if you could chime in there. I've talked to you and several folks in the labor community about some really amazing apprenticeship programs that I think speak to Mr. Jones' point about connecting those dots, where you go through the training, but there's also an employer that is working with you, and a job that is connected with those opportunities, and also the gap in reaching this community potentially.
Well, you called on me, so I hope I don't go too long now. I'll try to be brief, but I was just sitting here listening to everybody, and some things were going through my head. I've been in this position for about 14 months now, and one of the first things that I did was I reached out to our JATC, our training directors, to ask about some of the issues that they're having, because I've saw the stats and the slides and everything, and from a building trades perspective, as the economy gets better and as construction gets better, there's more job opportunities out there. So we have that coming from the bottom. And then we have the baby boomers at the top that are starting to retire, so we're getting squeezed from both sides, if that makes sense. So there's gonna be a huge gap there, and we're gonna need people to do that work. And I know that everybody here lives and works in Columbus and Central Ohio, and just like you guys, you know, if I live in a neighborhood and they're building a school or a library in my neighborhood, I would much rather have, you know, Matt, the plumber down the street, putting in the toilet or the plumbing system in that school than somebody from Findlay, Toledo, Cleveland, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, whatever. So we have to train the people here to do that job. Now, in 2008, 2009, when the recession was bad, we thought that because of people being displaced from jobs and because of there not being that many jobs out there, that we would have more applicants for our trades and for our JATC programs. That was the case, but we didn't have a better quality of applicant, which was not good. So when I met with our training directors, and we've had a couple meetings with Dr. Good, and I've shared some of this with you, Shannon, and also Councilmember Page, is my belief, and I could be wrong, is, you know, we talk about rebuilding our communities and our neighborhoods and helping our cities and our neighborhoods within the city and within the county. The way that we do that is by providing job opportunities for the people that live in those neighborhoods so they can see a future there and they stay, they develop their homes, they develop their neighborhoods, their schools, places of businesses, and we grow from within. We've met with Dr. Good from Columbus City Schools a couple of times, and I can see progress being made, and he's having, I think it's June 9th at the IBEW Training Center, where we had our open house in February and you guys toured. He's having principals, assistant principals, guidance counselors come down there so they can see what the trades are and what they can do. And, you know, I won't go through all the benefits of some of our training programs, but I think that that's what we have to do. We have to get into the high schools, and Fort Hays is great. I'm not knocking Fort Hays, don't just throw away. But we have to let those kids know that if, you know, you don't have a desire to go to college, or maybe if you're not smart enough or you don't feel you're smart enough to go to college, or maybe if you want to go to college but you realize you don't have the financial to go to college, that there's other programs out there for you that you can go into, and there's no cost to come into a building trades program. But what we have to do, in my opinion, is I don't think 11th and 12th grade is early enough. I think we need to get to kids in 7th and 8th grade, let them know there's opportunities there for two reasons. One, because if they identify themselves as 7th and 8th grade as not college material, whether financially or whatever, then they might kind of give up on themselves, and we don't want them to do that. We want them to know that if they continue to go to school, they learn all the basics and they do well, that there's an opportunity for them to get a job and to be trained for free and to have a direct path to the middle class. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that we need these kids to know that, you know, what you do in middle school or what you do in high school could have repercussions longer. Some of these programs with Restoration Academy and stuff, that's great. And I know this is more of a state or a federal issue, so I don't want to touch on it too much here on the local level. That's great, and I'm all for giving people a second chance. But if a kid does something, whether it's, you know, whatever, stealing or whatever, and he has that on his record, you know, we can take them into our programs, and that's great, and everybody deserves a second chance. But I mean, one of the largest employers in Franklin County is the Ohio State University. And myself and 20 other trades workers from different trades in the building trades today sat through an hour-and-a-half safety orientation and background check because we're volunteering our time to demolish a playground at the Nysanger Institute at OSU. We're doing it for free, but we still had to go through a background check to be able to work there on campus. So, you know, everybody talks about how great it is to give people a second chance, but there's some people at the state and federal level that don't really practice what they preach. Yeah. So that's some of the issues that we're running into, and I think that this is a great forum to discuss those issues and to come up with solutions, and I'm glad that we're all talking and working together, and, you know, but that's some of the things that I see, I guess, in a nutshell, and I probably talked way too long, and I apologize for that.
I wonder if we're putting the carriage before the horse a little bit. We're talking about supporting young black men, and by extension, people. And in order to prepare for the workforce, there's a lot that goes into that, right? But what we see the numbers nationally saying is that there are these drop-offs even before they get to middle school, right? Whether or not they're prepared for kindergarten, right? That's one. Preschool, what happens at home, If there's no support there, by third grade, they're done, right? They get to third grade, they're successful going to fourth grade. Now we have a barrier going into sixth grade. And what I see working with teens at Boys and Girls Clubs is that our kids who do well up until sixth grade start to drop. I was looking at Learning Circle data today, and it was drastic. It actually was frightening how at the beginning of their sixth grade year, they're here, and by the end, they're flatlining, right? So we need to support these young men even before we start talking about going to work. And so I think my question to that point is, yes, work is here, that's the goal, for them to be productive citizens, but how do we support them to the point where they can even dream? If we can do that, then I think a lot of the issues, these numbers are saying, 33% of kids, well, 67 are graduating, or that's our graduation rate or whatever. That's 33% of our kids who aren't even there. If we can pre-K up, get our resources together and focus on that, I think the workforce issue solves itself.
Well, that's a long-term approach, and that's the pipeline, and we got to catch them early intervention. But we got crises at every level, right? And we got these high school, out-of-school youth, and out-of-college young adults that are in crises, and these families need these supports, and these communities need the support. So one of the things I see in my job in working with some of the youth that are definitely out of school, definitely off the grid, so to speak, we got to meet them where they're at, flat out. And they are not reading, and they can count, they can use math, but they don't believe those skills that they're surviving off of in the streets are transferable skills to the workplace. One of the things we got to do is meet these young people where they're at and not demean them or denigrate them to the point where they don't see any value in themselves, right? We got to rebuild that spirit and meet them where they're at. So, and one of the things that, I don't know if you're doing this with COWIC, with the Career Pathways program, but taking the inventory up front, because I've had a higher ed background. I've worked on the college campuses, and I've had students come in from a very number of different districts around the state at Wright State University where I was at, come in totally, their confidence is shook when they have to take all them developmental courses coming in the door. And they think that they were prepared and they weren't. But many of them step up to the challenge and say, okay, if I got to take 3 steps back to get to that goal, I'll take that 3 steps back. So I don't know if you guys are doing any assessments to see where they're at academically, because their reading scores and math scores, or math skills, are essential to their success. I was at a Popeyes not too long ago, and this young lady could not count my change. And instead of the manager coming up and helping her, she made that young lady even feel lower about herself. You can't count? How did you get this job? How did you hire and not know that? And why aren't you helping her in this teachable moment right now? So we need to, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but.
If I could, very quickly, about long perspective. Mr. Jones said something that is a little bit bothersome, excuse me, because we tell young people that if you keep your nose clean and you go to school every day, you get good grades, you will be successful. That's something that we preach. And Mr. Jones was telling me that the kids that he went to school with that did all of that now are unemployed, even though they got their certification from the vocational part of Columbus schools. And that's only going to bleed over and make life difficult for us. And not just because his friends, because I really don't think his friends are going to fall into crime, but the kids coming up who saw that what you did was everything you were supposed to do and you still don't have a job. So why would I do that and work so hard when I can take this easy way out? So that's very concerning, and that's something I think we really need to address here, is how we reward that kind of hard work and dedication.
I would just echo that those trends are not unique to vulnerable youth. Even when you come to The Ohio State University, we see students with poor career maturity. There's a deficit or a dearth of STEM workers, and we hear this all the time. But even when you get the degree, many are not going in those fields. and disproportionately, they tend to be black and brown students. So one of the things that I'm hearing, I think, so we can kind of untangle some of it, we're talking about different pathways for different people depending on where they are developmentally or due to their circumstances. What instantly came to my mind, and it's some of the work I did on Capitol Hill, and we were talking about Second Chance Act. Well, one reason why with criminal records that you know it is because my Social Security number. My Social Security number is my life footprint. But there's another thing called limited liability corporations. If you're an entrepreneur, I don't use my Social Security number. I use my employment ID, right? And so one of the things that what many of our youth in urban America has, they have talents and skills. They make CDs out of their trunks. They make music. They do art. There is a billion-dollar enterprise. Go to any flea market in the South, because they're the biggest and where I'm from. You see ladies who make crafts. You see ladies who make quilts, and they done built an enterprise in itself. So one of the things I think is important, and I think it's important at Ohio State or any place, is entrepreneurship. You can mow a lawn. Can we get somebody a lawnmower? Invest in a lawnmower, because I know I have a friend who went to high school with me. I got more education than him, and he's a multimillionaire because he done created this enterprise based on the service industry. Columbus is a service-oriented community. Haircut, that's entrepreneurship, LLC, but many of the barbers, they don't know how to maximize those opportunities. So I think it's important for us to think about the spirit of entrepreneurship, the spirit of financial literacy. The other piece is, because we have our government officials in here, is I know my brother owns a professional staffing company. He has a site in LA and one in our hometown in South Carolina. In California, LA, they have incentives. They get tax credits for you to hire these individuals. In fact, the mayor honored him because he was finding people jobs, because it was incentivized, and not only it put money into the employer's pocket that they had viable employment, but not only that, it had incentives for these companies to hire these individuals. So one thing, if we don't have it, that may be a conversation to have around incentives to hire these youth. Because if we don't employ them, those will be most likely someone who will come into your house and get, because it's just survival. It's hierarchy of needs, and those are some things. But I'm gonna go back to the schools because Mr. Haggard, I know you all, Columbus City Schools right now is gonna have a lot of painting. They're gonna have roof work. It's dirty work. Again, I'm gonna go back to the fact is, how can our young people, because they already go to schools, we don't do background checks for you to go to school. We do background checks for everything else, but we don't do background checks for you to come to school. Why can't we come up with a program that kids develop the skills in an apprenticeship-like way, where your building is gonna need painting, because you paint it every year. That's normally what we do. That we teach, because anybody can't paint. If you've seen a professional painter, it doesn't look the way I paint, and my wife have let me know that many times. It's a specific skills that you can develop, where kids can develop skills, and and when they can get the literacy, they can get the training, because people more likely to give a person a break when they hear your story, when they see that you're trying to get on the right path. But if we don't increase contact with the people who make decisions, our young people will remain marginalized. So we have Dr. Good. Maybe that's a starting place, but I really think we need to work with the schools, because they don't do background checks. They give you a check because they got to take whoever come in their building, even though they want to get rid of it. That is a mechanism that I think we can do, where you can get those soft skills. Because what I heard, hard skills and soft skills, that was the theme. How do we help people? Because guess what, at Ohio State, Even when you got a 3.5, we still talking about how we're going to help students get the soft skills because they got the hard skills. There will be people who graduate from our beloved Ohio State who have not obtained a job right now. So it's not just these youth, but and in fact, increasingly we're finding college students working in fast food restaurants.
Can I add this one thing? I want to build off of what you said, especially regarding our youth with criminal records. And the one thing that, that I harp on often is that we need to figure out a strategy that's a workforce strategy that is a diversion strategy before they even get the criminal record. There's a juvenile justice kind of injustice happening in that students are getting a history of criminal records for nonviolent activity. And that nonviolent activity escalates once they are inside the system. So as a diversion strategy, how do we engage those youth into employment opportunities to take them off the streets and off of those activities that could lead to criminal behavior? And so part of the discussion has to be, because when you work with any youth and you ask them, why did you drop out of school? I need to get some money. And so there's a good way to get that money and there's a bad way to get that money. And oftentimes it leads to guys like my friend here corralling them, but there's a way for us to work with our youth who want to find resources to support their families or even support their own individual lifestyles, in a constructive way that leads to them getting the academic credential necessary to go on to the next stage of their life, but then also to just have the experience of not being confined by the judicial system and limiting their ability to go on and be productive citizens in our community. So one of the conversations has to be about how do we engage diversion strategy across the continuum, an education diversion, a workforce diversion, and even just a social community responsibility diversion. How do we respond to our youth who engage in criminal or nonviolent criminal activity, and how do we reinsert them into our community to be productive members? And then, because I know I know exactly, but the other part of that too is Gallup recently. This is going to the higher ed part of it. Gallup recently did a study on youth who graduate from college and don't have an alignment of skills for what business leaders are looking for. The number one thing that business leaders want to see on the resume of a college graduate is internship history and co-op experience. And if you don't have that, you're setting yourself up for a diploma, a degree with no job. Then Gallup did, and as part of this study, they also asked them to just rank the things of importance. And I'm going to just tell you, the top 2 things that college graduates must have from the business leaders of this community, from the Fortune 500 organizations, is 84% said knowledge, 79% said skills. 28% of them said they look at majors as an important asset to when they go about making their hiring decisions. And then the last one at 9% was the alma mater, what college you went to. That is that is the least important aspect of college choice in terms of hiring and what business leaders look at when they value the types of young people that they hire coming out of colleges. And these numbers are even more staggering when it comes to black males. So there's a Gallup poll for us to all look at as we go into this conversation that can help us quantify the lack of workforce opportunity as well as the qualitative things that we're already sharing today.
I'm going to ask a question to the group, and maybe we can invite someone from juvenile justice, a judge, someone of that nature, because I was under the impression that your juvenile records are sealed, right? You have to get a judge the ability to look at a juvenile's criminal record if you're an employer. That's correct, right? So you can't see what happens to you before you're 18. So I don't know how youth are being excluded from jobs because of their criminal record, their criminal history.
Unfortunately, though, when you start behavior when they're very young, it bleeds over to when they're an adult. So while we may not see what they did at 13 and 14, sadly, they're doing the same thing at 18 and 19 often.
So I think the misnomer for a lot of these youth, because you would talk yourself out of even trying because you got misinformation. So I deal with youth all the time, and you guys know over there, I said, their criminal records don't matter. You're dealing with a kid. So let's not even talk about that. A judge has to allow you to see their criminal records. So I think if our kids are empowered enough to know, even at this young age, to even try to get those experiences, they talk themselves out of these internships and these career centers and these things because they think, oh, I done already messed myself up. When you really haven't yet. So I think that's part of the discussion.
Well, I'm trying to get to them because I agree. If you're 13 and you're in that system already, unless there is someone in your life to turn that around, you are going to keep in that. And literally, and just because of some work that I'm doing right now, I can just tell you, once you get into that area, boy, there's just almost no turning back. You have to have an amazing support system to turn it around. It is just that difficult. And so I think we're going to talk, as you said, the young people who haven't gotten in any trouble. That's part of, I think, the task force with Councilmember Hardin. But then we've got to certainly focus on those individuals that do have those records. And what do? I would totally agree. I think entrepreneurship and also having the opportunity to work with small and medium-sized businesses who will give you a chance as opposed to the larger organizations, because it's very, very difficult. But I think there's a lot of different areas we have to look at in terms of employment for African American boys and men.
So, Mr. Parker, not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot as our private sector representative, are there things that you're aware of in the corporate sector that maybe touch on some of these issues, or some discussions that may be on the horizon that maybe we're not aware of?
I don't know if we're not aware of them, but it's interesting listening to this. It really is. It's a problem that's going to take a multi-pronged approach, to solve it. And luckily, there are lots of passionate people in the room that can target in on those. I loved your comment about, maybe we've got the cart before the horse, but I also agree that there's crisis at all levels, when you think about this issue. When I think about the work that you guys are doing at COWIC, I have to take my hat off to you. Especially when you talk about the IT solutions there. I've got, just at Nationwide and all the employers in town, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in IT. And when you look at the salaries that you put up on the screen that go up into the $50, $60, $70 an hour, that's a really good career path for people to take. And I'm interested, why more people don't go down that path, because we have lots of IT jobs, within this community. To answer your question, what's on the horizon? What more can we do? I think that the mayor's program with interns and high school kids is the right path. That's the right thing that we need to do more of. It's frustrating that 5,000 raise their hand and only 500 get selected. And I'm not exactly sure what the solution is for that. But I see and Councilmember Tyson, brought up specifically the insurance industry. We've got 26,000 jobs that will be available in just one business sector in this state over the next 5 years. And while I appreciate the Gallup data that you produced, I would tell you that what's very important to me is that we hire for attitude and we train for skills. And that's probably exactly how you would answer that question as well in the trades. And so I appreciate the education, I appreciate the 4-year degrees, I appreciate all of that. But if I find someone who's got a good high school diploma and has the right attitude and goes to Columbus State for 2 semesters and takes a very specific insurance certificated course, that's really valuable to me, and we've just created that as an industry with Columbus State. So that's new, and probably haven't talked about that enough. But that's not just a business, that's an industry sector going to an institution that moves at the speed of business, and sometimes not the speed of academia. I see you shaking your head. I know you know what I mean. And I think there's real value in those kind of partnerships. But it is, there's lots of things that we have to do all the way along the path. But that's where I think private business can step in and continue to do work for this issue.
Thank you. So I see our time has come to pass. Are there any last minute burning comments or anything that we need to get on the floor?
I have one last one.
Yes, sir.
We are hiring.
Yes.
Please stop and pick this up. If you know someone who's 20 years old, now I will say we do a pretty extensive background check, which I think you want us to.
Yep.
But please stop and get one of these, or a few of them if you want to take them to church on Sunday, or anybody else that you know that you think might be a really good police officer. We like to hire on attitude as well. We'll train you how to become a police officer. We want you to be a good person first. So please stop and get one of those. I would appreciate it.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes,
because
sir.
you talked about doing an extensive background check. Just say, for example, this is the scenario, a young person had a criminal record at 12, but life has been grand after that. Fill out the application. Do you have a criminal record or you don't?
You do.
You still have to put it, even though theoretically.
Yeah, because we will find out about that. Now, I will tell you, if you're 12 years old and you're applying to be a police officer at 22, if you committed a theft or you maybe sold drugs or something like that, you can still become a police officer. If you shot someone, probably not.
So, but because I'm hearing scenarios around the country that people say, well, they expunge their records.
Correct.
And my wife has a clearance. She does top secret work.
Right.
And it ain't really thrown away.
That's correct.
It will come up. So they tell the child that you don't have a criminal record, and then they put no criminal record, and then the background person comes and say, you lied.
And we understand that most people believe that they don't have a criminal record anymore. So we don't consider that to be a lie. That's a really good point.
Okay.
We find out about it if you're doing a top secret clearance as well. We're going to find out about it, and we should.
Right.
But if you're applying for a job to tear something down at the Ohio State University, they don't need to know that you had a criminal record at the age of 12.
Okay.
So there's a different standard there. So thank you for asking that question, because I think that is an important distinction.
Yeah.
Maybe at our next session, maybe we can have somebody in the human resources industry or a panel from HR to come and have some of those very conversations for our young people about how to fill out their application, what to do, what to say, because there are some employers that will hire with a criminal background. And if you get to the HR folks that do the hiring, that make the decisions, I mean, there are some employers here in our community that are doing that we've worked with at the county. That's the first thing I want to say. And I think the second piece is just to make sure that as folks are going for jobs and applying for jobs, that it doesn't matter if they had something in their past, that even if you put it down. I had an incident where a young lady applied for a job and she had a criminal history. It was an assault, and she actually wrote out a long letter telling us what happened and why. And for somebody like that, I was willing to give a second chance. And I think there are other employers that'll do that. And so maybe if we had somebody from the human resources industry that might be able to help, kind of coach young people on what to do.
Yeah, thank you.
And I just wanted to kind of go back to something with regards to opportunities within Columbus City Schools, and I heard the gentleman speaking about trying to link up with administrators and so forth. And our district has really moved towards a model called site-based council, and in which the decentralization process of decision-making coming back to the building level is an opportunity for community partners to join site-based council, to be a part of the school-wide decision-making process to assist that learning community. And so When you think about partnering with schools, speak with the administrators with regards to the mission of the program so that you can begin to see how you can link up with that various mission or the missions of the particular organization. Yeah. And so on that council is room for community partners, parents, teachers, even students.
Anybody else? Thank you all very much for
you.
your robust discussion and your attention and your participation. Our second meeting has not yet been scheduled. However, I think each of you have information about the upcoming youth summits, and as we schedule that second meeting, I'll be in touch with you. We'll probably do it in the evening. We also have a high school representative who couldn't join us this evening because he had school obligations. So I'm glad that he's there and not here. So anyway, we'll try to work around his schedule. That's why it's so late in the evening. If we do schedule the next meeting in the summer, maybe we'll have some more flexibility with the time. So I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Hardin to close us out.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hunley Jenkins. Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thank you, everyone around this table. I want to keep on emphasizing that this is the beginning of the conversation. This issue, as we started to just have the conversation tonight, we're just starting to peel back layers of issues and opportunities, really. And so, work with us, engage with us in between these meetings. The real work will happen as we continue to engage and we continue to have these conversations. I want to thank Keisha, Dr. Hunley Jenkins, for all the work that she's done thus far in pulling this group together. I want to thank COWIC for getting this conversation started and bringing the information that they presented. I'd like to thank my staff, Ms. Linda Capobianco and Edward Johnson, for working with the mayor's office and pulling this together. And certainly, not least, CTV, Stephanie Harper, for being here. This will be on Channel 3 and it's open for the community. We want to have the engagement from folks from around the neighborhoods because everybody's a part of this conversation. And so we will work with you in talking about our next meeting. We will focus on our next meeting on public safety and safety issues. And we'll work with you as we engage the facilitators for that meeting. But something that I also heard, and I'm starting to believe, is that we might need a couple more meetings. The engagement on this is we want to come back together. We want to further these conversations. And so when I say we'll keep everything on the table, I apologize. That might mean one more meeting. No. But seriously, thank you all for being here. Your commitment to young men in our community is greatly appreciated by all of us. I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember Tyson and Councilmember Page, for being here. And certainly would like to thank the mayor for his continued leadership in this space. So thank you and have a good evening.